Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 37 of The Real Estate Show. I'm Cherise Selly. With me is the fabulous Judy Steenland. Together, we are a part of Selly Group Real Estate. We're a boutique brokerage here in Colorado Springs. Judy and I have over 50 years of combined real estate experience, and we love sharing some of our real life stories, real life thoughts, opinions. We want to help accelerate your knowledge of real estate and empower you in this time where everything may seem so chaotic to make really good decisions in this time and to gain more insight about real estate in general. And so with that said, we're in the Colorado Springs market. We still do not have February's numbers out at the time of airing this podcast. It'll be out by the time this podcast is out, but we don't have it today. I'm very interested to see how much over that $500,000 mark the average price of a home is going into February.
I am too. And I think that when we came out of December, we were right at the $5,000 or $500,000 average price point. In January, we were a little bit under that. But I think based on the super low inventory that we're going into this spring selling season with, we're going to see it jump right back up.
Yes, we are. And it's jumping up early.
Yeah.
It's jumping up early. There's not, for us, I think that this market, it's not like there's been this total hiatus where nothing is happening in the market for the winter where it used to be that way. I think we have an earlier flood in sellers. If you're thinking about selling and you want to wait until the summer, I think that's probably not in your best interest to wait that long. I think unless you really have to, unless there's circumstances that are way beyond the decision of timing that are personal circumstances for you. But I think an earlier time frame to consider listing is going to be advantageous to you because we continue to go through this historical low inventory, and interest rates right now have not jumped to the highest that they will be this year. So you're still in this sweet spot that you just, don't take it for granted.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have a lot of local buyers sitting on the sidelines that were looking last summer into the fall, into the winter, that we never saw that inventory come, way back up. And we've got a lot of local buyers. We're just waiting.
Waiting. There are so many.
So many. So many. Yeah.
So many, Judy. And so sellers, when you're thinking about getting your home ready, there's a lot of misconception out there. A lot of times you might see, looking through some of the IDX feeds and some of the listings out there when you're on your computer, you might see homes that have just literally they're taken with iPhone photos, or there's nothing done in the home. And sometimes people will say, well, isn't that good enough? Do I have to do anything to my home? It's gonna sell. Well, here's what I'm saying to people, and I know you are too. Yes, your home is going to sell. It's not a matter of will it sell. It can be a dump right now, and it's going to sell. Literally the worst dump.
We saw a dump sell last year that had been completely spray painted. It sold.
It sold for like maximum value.
Yeah.
And so, yes, a home is going to sell. So don't worry about that. But the thing is, we call it elasticity. There is a low and a high range for a house.
Right.
And that high range is to be determined by the bidding wars that we see.
Right.
And we constantly, every time we have a listing, we're setting a new comp, typically, for the neighborhood. But how high do you want your home to comp out? How high do you want to set that bar for you? It depends on what you do to get your home ready. And we've talked about the fact that we do pre-construction renovations and those kind of things for some of our listings. And then there's mini renos, like mini little things. And some people don't have the big budget to do everything.
Yeah.
But Judy, I really want you to dig into this. This is something you're so good at. I love it. I love it that our whole group is creative.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share a little bit. Now, there was an article from Realtor Magazine by Knock, and Knock is a technology accelerator program through Century Second Century Ventures. They're the strategic investment arm of NAR, the National Association of Realtors. So NAC did this research about days on the market and how much faster a home will sell with these mini renos done. And so these repairs are mentioned in light of days on the market. Now, I wish that there was a chart that talked about how much more you'll get for doing these repairs. Everybody wants a list of, if I spend $3,000, am I going to make $4,000 back? What am I going to make back? And this doesn't show that, but it does talk about days on the market.
Yeah. Well, and the truth about that, Cherise, is that when we're comping properties, even when appraisers are going out to assess the value for the bank, it's not an exact science. It is using the knowledge that you have about the market, the numbers that are presented and reported, and then your knowledge about where the market is going.
100%.
So there is a huge spread in what value they can give to a property based on where you're at in the current market.
That's good, Judy.
And so we make our best, guess, but it may not be the same every time.
I think it's not even a guess. We bracket it. We
That's
give
right.
people a bracket that's realistic. But all of that is based on history.
Yes.
And not the reality of where things are going. And so, but let's talk about this. Everybody wants typically to make the most money that they can on a sale.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't care about making the most money, don't listen to this part. Just turn it off. It's okay.
Well, and this I could go down this rabbit trail. I'll just briefly mention it. But this is another reason why, if we've got an iBuyer in the market and they're making these offers to sellers that they'll just buy their house from them directly, no repairs, nothing to do, no showings. That's the appeal, right? Is the convenience of taking an offer from an iBuyer. Well, they're taking the spread on the lower side usually, and they're not even giving themselves the opportunity to do some of these little mini renovations, whether it's fresh paint, whether it's painting a cabinet, adding hardware, just easy renovations. I mean, we're talking about a 30% spread sometimes.
Yeah, and that is the truth.
Yeah.
And so why not, as the homeowner, benefit from this market and do the work yourself?
Yeah.
Don't sell it and make somebody else get that profit and that gain.
Yeah, because most likely the mini renovations that can be done, and let's talk about some of those mini renovations, will drive that. I mean, people are going to walk in and they're going to see a home that's ready to be moved into.
Totally.
And there's a lot of value in that. So a lot of that cash that's being parked, they're going to see the value in putting it into the home.
100%. So Judy, tee us off. Let's talk about these mini renos.
Mini renovations could include, I say first and foremost, paint is one of the biggest things that you can do. One of the lowest cost-effective mini renos you can do.
And guess what? In this article, you're right on, because it says 70% of sellers painted their walls.
Is that right?
So that's that's the most common home improvement.
Yeah.
But, and so I love a particular seller that I just met with this week. Love her. She loves this rose pink to deep dusty pink color. And it was all over the master bedroom. And she looked at me, and it was the only thing that wasn't neutral in the home. And I looked at it, and I looked at her, and she goes, "You want me to paint that, don't you?" I mean, I could just tell she was like, this is the one thing I haven't done. And I said, you know what? You might be appealing to 10% of the market with that specific color. And it's beautiful. It fits her style. She has such taste.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people are not buying the seller's taste.
Right.
They want to make a home their own.
Yes.
So even though there was fresh paint on the walls, it was not a color that would be what I would consider a neutral and a color that would appeal to the whole buyer pool.
Right. And when buyers walk in, the least amount of projects that they see, as small as painting walls, the least amount of projects that they see, the higher their offer will be.
It really is true.
Yeah.
There is just this intrinsic value to not having to do the work.
Yeah.
So if sellers don't want to do the work,
yeah,
buyers are going to somehow subliminally, it'll be reflected.
Yeah. So paint.
Yes.
Kitchens and bathrooms are huge.
And what about, so talk about that. Let's break down the parts of the kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
do you have to gut and remodel and spend $100,000 on it? I'm talking average price home.
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely not. And as hard as it is to get cabinetry, you wouldn't want to, truly. You can do some easy updates, and that could be painting, that could be resurfacing, that could be just as simple as adding new hardware, depending on the condition of the cabinets. Backsplashes. Nowadays, there are so many alternatives to having to do. Have you seen the new stuff that you stick on your wall, and the tile, you don't even mortar it. You use regular porcelain tile or ceramic tile, and it sticks. What is that stuff called?
Sticky tile.
No, I can't even think of it, but it's the greatest thing ever.
When you find it, put it on a link on our Facebook page so that people can know where to go for that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm watching people do renos, like adding tile like on a bathroom wall all the way to the ceiling.
Wow.
It's great stuff. And then you grout just like normal. But there are great, easy DIYs. I mean, we've seen some bad DIYs. Let's not get crazy, but let's, easy renovations that add value and interest when you walk into a property.
And you made such a good point. Cabinets are hard to come by. They're too expensive right now.
Yeah.
But when you've got 1980s looking cabinets that are just beat up wood, and they're transformed and they're painted white.
Yes.
I'll tell you, that is one of the very top, on the top of the mini-reno list that buyers are looking for, are actually painted cabinets.
Yeah. And I get the question all the time as, don't you think white cabinets are a trend and they're going to go out? I honestly don't. I think white cabinets are classic, and either you like them or you don't. But a huge part of the market and the buyers in the buyer pool, they love them.
That's right. They do.
Yeah. They prefer them over the dark wood.
And they kind of go with everything.
Yeah.
You can kind of mix any style with it. It's very transitional.
Yeah.
So that's so true. And, I would say this on the list that we have, shower remodels, like the main primary bathroom shower remodel. I had a listing appointment this last year where the primary shower, the tile was really old, but it didn't look that bad until I kind of stepped in and put my foot down, and the whole floor was moving. And it turned out that there was so much water getting behind the tile, and literally it was down to the plywood on the baseboard. Everything was saturated, and there was mold in that one part where the tile was. So, it wasn't a full remodel of everything, but to get that shower, to get the moldy stuff out, to put some new tile up, that is a big deal, because the primary bathroom is one of the biggest places for people go to look, and they can sometimes handle those secondary bathrooms. If you have to prioritize, then the primary bath is so important.
Well, and another would be easy countertop upgrades. That's a big one.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%.
And a lot of times bathrooms, you can find remnants of countertops in some of the local shops in different places, because you don't need a huge slab of it. So
that's like granite remnants and stuff like that.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned backsplashes. And there's another thing, and it's not actually on this list, but I would say split toilets, old toilets. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
To have toilets that are working and that are not split.
Yeah.
That happens in these older homes a lot, but that's not a very expensive thing to change.
Right. And I think our goal is just to maximize the seller's dollars, doing the most cost-effective and most impactful upgrades at the time that we list the house. So our expectation is not that we're going in to do a full reno. We want it to show well. We want it to present itself in a way that is going to be appealing to the most amount of people.
I believe that is the truth, Judy. And one last thing is, I had an investor once that at the beginning of my career became my client, and he had strategically purchased foreclosure homes all over Washington, D.C. And I'm like, what do you do? What's the main thing you do when you're flipping a house? And for him, he could just do a very small amount of work that the seller didn't want to do, or that they couldn't because they were in foreclosure. But the two things he said always, paint and carpet.
Yes.
And those two things alone accelerate. If he didn't do a lot of other heavy renos, those two were not an option.
Well, and that reminds me of a home I just showed a couple of weeks ago, and it had been an investment property. It was a rental. It was on the market, and it needed everything. It needed appliances. It needed countertops. It needed everything. And all they did was paint it, and they had new carpet installed, and it drew multiple offers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be too complicated, but that's what we love to do, is to be a guide for you, because we can help formulate a plan specific for your needs, for your budget, and for where you want to be in the selling end of things. As a listing agent, both of us have that skill set to maximize your value with the least amount of spend that you can do.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for tuning in. This is such a fun topic, and we both love design, don't we?
Yeah. I think next time we should talk about, what do you, Cherise Selly, as a real estate agent, not just an agent, but an investor, look for personally? And I can do the same.
That's an incredible
because we are
idea.
Also investors in this market.
Absolutely. We're going to do that. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time.